Hey man, let me introduce to you our new, or kind of our newest little concept in our Shield group, which is marching orders videos. These are videos that we're going to use to help develop our strategies in going through our day-to-days, going through our lives, dealing with our situations, circumstances, families, temptations, whatever they might be. So we'll start doing these videos quite often. But so I want to present to you one of the areas that we're going to kind of attack, and it's Ecclesiastes. We recently went through parts of this at my church in Sunday school class, and I find that it's kind of an exciting area to go through. I would tell you that it's kind of touted as being a rather complicated book, in that it seems to be loaded with a lot of disappointments, difficulties, really not a whole lot of talking about God at all. And so it just seems to be kind of a bummer, kind of a downer. And, you know, a lot of people don't like to read it. A lot of preachers don't like to teach on it because it just seems like such a downer. The reality of it is what Solomon's trying to do with this, and we'll identify that it's Solomon as we look at Ecclesiastes 1:1. But what Solomon's trying to do here is get us to recognize even some things that we may not be recognizing on a daily basis, or even as we're going through trials or experiencing difficulties or agitations or, you know, whatever those things might be. But to literally get us to recognize what it is to be a human being in the world without God. And so the things that we're going to go through, we're going to be talking about vanities of vanities. We're going to look at things that we're going to identify as vain, for example, that that we might think are good things, or we might have thought in the past were good things. But it's just a lot of this is going to feel a little bit like, you know, Solomon is hopeless. Solomon feels some hopelessness, and I think that's not what he's doing. Commentators tend to think that since this is coming out of Jerusalem, that Solomon was looking at the hopelessness that he sees in people who don't believe in God, who aren't following the law, or who, as much as they were very dedicated to the law in Jerusalem, maybe didn't believe it or weren't steadfast to it. It could have also been that he was looking at some of the places that he conquered, that were taken over, that he was seeing that that because they didn't have God, they were struggling in certain areas, certainly struggling in that they were conquered, if that were the case. But, you know, finding that living in the world and living in the world exclusive from God or without him is definitely not the way to go. It's negative. It leaves us feeling empty and without purpose. So as we go through this, I think we'll find, and we're not going to leave any of the lessons that way. We're going to look at the other side of how we're going to take the things that we've learned and figure out how to fill them in, figure out how to move from that worldly condition into a kingdom condition, or developing a kingdom lifestyle, a kingdom understanding. And some of you guys have heard me talking about being kingdom dwellers. And this is really going to be kind of the difference between being people who live in the world or who live partially in the world to becoming fully enriched kingdom dwellers. So we'll talk about all that. So just a matter of kind of getting started. I'm going to cover Ecclesiastes just 1:1 and just talk about, you know, what that is, and then I'll end this video and we'll get on to the learning of the rest of it. So Ecclesiastes 1:1 says, "The words of the preacher, the son of David, king in Jerusalem." So it pretty much makes it clear that we're talking about Solomon. Listen, these are words coming from the person who was the king in Jerusalem. And it doesn't say the king of Jerusalem, it says the king in Jerusalem. So it's kind of our understanding that he's writing to us from Jerusalem. And so that can kind of get our minds kind of floating back to, you know, where Solomon might be sitting. He identifies himself as the son of David. And of course, then we realize that we're talking about Solomon. And then the interesting thing is we go back a little further to the beginning of it. It says the words or the understandings of the preacher. And so as we're kind of looking at some of these things that seem to be a bit hopeless, let's keep in mind that he is coming at us or coming to us as a preacher, a person speaking to a group of people, in our case, a group of men, with the understandings that has been brought to him by God. He is here to preach or tell the truth to a group of men. It does indicate more loosely that a preacher is a person who is able to assemble people, who is able to who is able to develop a congregation and then speak before them. I do want you to understand that Solomon's going to identify right off the get-go that everything is vanity. And we're going to talk about what that is in the next session. So listen, I hope you guys are having a great day. God bless. And we'll see you at the time of the next video, which will be really soon. Y'all have a great day. God